नंदिनी तुम स्टार्ट कर लो और चेक कर लो।
अच्छा, पहले तो आई हैव अ वेरी बिग डाउट, दैट
आस्क योर
इज
वेरी बिग डाउट। हाँ
दैट इज ये सोडी है कि सोंडी है, क्या
सोंधी,
है?
सोंधी, SONDHI, सोंधी, विपिन सोंधी।
सोंडी, so I have to
हाँ
call him विपिन सोंडी। ओके, और मेरे को ये
सोंधी,
स्पॉन्सर्स का
वही तो बोल रहा
सारा।
हूँ, सोंधी। हाँ
हाँ, तुमको इंस्क्रिप्ट एडवर्टाइजमेंट बोलना पड़ेगा, माय
हाँ,
लैंड वाला और सौरभ का माता ना।
एक मिनट।
सारा बोलना है, एज इन इसके
हाँ
बाद भी है
सब
शिवा
बोलना है,
कमर्शियल
सब बोलना है,
कॉर्पोरेशन।
सब बोलना है, जो मिनट्स है एग्जैक्टली वही रीड करना और कुछ नहीं।
तो सारा ओके, कूल, गॉट इट। और ये टेक्यूम से शेष है कि ये क्या है? इन
एक मिनट,
IIM
तुम मीनाक्षी को फोन करो, वो तुमको सब बता देगी। रुको, मिनट्स दे रहा है। बताओ। नंदिनी तुम मीनाक्षी को फोन कर ले, उससे सब डिस्कस कर ले, ठीक है? तुमको वीडियो चेक करना है तो तुम कर ले अभी।
हाँ, वेट, आई विल डू दैट। ठीक आ रहा है?
हाँ तुम पक्का TCC वाला लग रहा है, थोड़ा कैमरा ऊपर करो।
शट अप।
और ऊपर करो, तुम्हारा ऐसा फोरहेड नहीं दिख रहा है।
इज इट फाइन
कूल,
नाउ?
सॉर्टेड, ठीक है, सही है।
किसी का कॉल आ रहा है।
संदीप सेन लग रहा है तुम पूरा।
शट अप।
हाँ ठीक है। Good morning, sir. Sir, you can check your audio and video, and then we'll let everybody in.
Am I audible?
Yes, sir, you're audible.
Visible properly?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Hello, is it Nandini?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. Hello, good to see you. And my colleague Vijay Karthik is on the other line. He will project the presentation.
Sure, sir.
And are we kind of good to go, or what's?
Yes, sir, we're good to go.
So Vijay, will you get the presentation on? Hi, Michael.
Good
You're
morning,
on.
sir. This is for the
Hi,
people.
sir.
Welcome to Xavier, sir.
Thank you very much for having us.
Vipin, sir, it's very nice that you are going to encourage and motivate our students. Very happy to have you. Welcome to Xavier virtually.
Thank
And we
you.
want to have you sometime in future in physical presence here. Surely we will have, sir.
Yeah, no, we'll do our best.
Yeah. Thank you.
Michael, the only thing is, Michael, the presentation's come, but it's knocked off half my screen where my talking points were. So now I need to get my talking points back. Not that I have a backup, so it's not a problem. But anyway, you can guide me on that.
So I'm sorry to interrupt, but first I need to start with a word of thanks. So if I have your permission, may I do so?
Please go ahead. Go ahead.
Thank you so much, sir. Good morning to one and all present here. Before we start with the proceedings, we would like to extend a note of thanks to our sponsors, without whom this event would not have been possible. My Froyo Land is the land of your frozen yogurt dreams. Imagine taking a trip down Willy Wonka's chocolate factory and creating your own mix of swirly goodness. At My Froyo Land stores, you can customize your cup any way you like. Fill your cup with any mix from a selection of over 100 rotating flavors and toppings and pay by weight. My Froyo Land is the place to enjoy a healthy new treat with all your family and friends. We are bringing you the joy of frozen yogurt to India, one swirl at a time. Saurav's Car Mart, established in 2008, is carrying out the business of automobile consultancy with trading, sale, purchase, exchange, and finance of old and new cars at the best rates with hassle-free paperwork. They accept all major card payments and sell certified cars and provide after-sale support and roadside assistance. Door-to-door valuation of car facilities is also available. Please feel free to call them for any kind of consultancy regarding your car. They have an in-house garage to provide special care. Their showroom is located at Entali near Shialda, Kolkata. Customer satisfaction is their profit. Book your dream car now and give them a chance to serve you. Good morning, Father Principal, Father Vice Principal, our distinguished speaker, Mr. Vipin Sondhi, our moderator for the session, Mr. Michael Horton, faculty members, and all the students of St. Xavier's College, Kolkata. We welcome you to our event, X-Confero 2022. Organized by the Xavier's Management Society, X-Confero is an international managerial oratory and debating event which is aimed at igniting a sense of inspiration and commitment among the students, whilst providing them with a window into the corporate world. The event focuses on providing a platform to the students to test their skills, showcase their talent and determination, eventually leading them to the path of success. I would like to call upon Professor Himadri Karmakar of St. Xavier's College, Kolkata, to deliver the welcome address.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, respected Principal Father Dr. Dominic Xavier, SJ, respected Vice Principal Father Peter Arokiam, SJ, respected Dean Professor Saugata Banerjee, and all the faculty members and all my dear students. And thank you to each and every one of you for being here with us today. We are very pleased to be able to welcome our speaker of the day, Mr. Vipin Sondhi, whose valuable experience and wisdom has led the corporate world to soaring heights of success. The theme for X-Confero this year was Colosseum, a battlefield where the participants had to prove their mettle and strive for excellence and victory. X-Confero 22, Undiminished Passion, provided a perfect synergy of intellectualism, enterprise, celebration, and persistence. The event, spanning over 8 days, had a number of challenging rounds to test the ingenuity of the participants and unravel their true potential. Success is not final. Failure is not fatal. It is the courage to continue that counts. The vision of St. Xavier's College, Kolkata, Nihil Ultra, meaning nothing beyond, is inspired by the indomitable spirit and resilience to develop ourselves each day. We sincerely hope that this session helps in stimulating the young minds immeasurably. So thank you all, and thank you for giving me this opportunity to say something about this. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your kind words. Now, I would like to call upon our esteemed speaker, Mr. Vipin Sondhi. Mr. Sondhi is the former Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer of Ashok, Leyland, India, Southeast Asia and Pacific regions. An alumnus of the Indian Institute of Technology, Delhi, and the Indian Institute of Management, Ahmedabad, Mr. Sondhi has over 3 decades of corporate experience in companies such as Honda, Tata Steel, and TechUmse. He was awarded the Confederation of India's Young Managers Trophy, the Udyog Ratan Award by the Institute of Economic Studies, and the CEO of the Year Award at the CEO Indian Awards. Mr. Sondhi has also served as the chairperson of Board of Governors at the state-owned Indian Institute of Science, Education and Research, Bhopal, and has been a member of Confederation of Indian Industry, National Committees. We are happy to have you here with us. I would now like to take this opportunity to introduce our moderator for today. Mr. Michael Horton is an admissions consultant, career coach, and aptitude test prep trainer by profession, and an entrepreneur and growth hacker by passion. Having studied at premier institutions such as St. Xavier's Kolkata, IIT Madras, and Cornell University, and with several years of experience in the education and consulting industries, he has gained a wealth of experience, which he uses to help individuals realize their dream careers. Through the platform EduAims, he has helped 10,000 plus candidates get to top GMAT and GRE scores and gain admissions to top 50 rank world-class business schools. So, we are glad to have you here with us today. Now, I would like to hand over the session to Mr. Sondhi and our moderator, Mr. Horton.
Thank you so much, Nandini.
Thank you, sir.
A very good morning to everyone, to the respected dignitaries, teachers, students, and everyone else present over here. Today, we have a revered and honorable guest amongst us. I would like to start by congratulating the students for carrying out such a scintillating event. Sorry, excuse me. It's an absolute honor for me to interact with such an inspiring thinker, a change maker, and in fact, a profound leader. And it feels revered to be with you, sir. I think our guest necessitates conversations around leadership and excellence. And before we dive directly into the same, I would like to ask everyone here to introspect and believe that we are indeed privileged to be currently here and amidst such a revered personality. So without much further ado, let's understand firsthand from Sir what it takes to drive excellence.
Michael, thank you very much. Very generous words, and of course your background is fantastic. Nandini, thank you as well. I have my colleague Vijay Karthik who will put the presentation on, and I will speak and of course look forward to the Q&A. Vijay, can we have the presentation, please? Good morning, everybody. Good morning, principal, vice principal, faculty member, and most of all, the students of XIM Kolkata. And congratulations, as I was overhearing, congratulations on X-Confero. It's obviously very, very exciting. Undiminished passion. What could be more exciting than undiminished passion? And I heard your motto of nothing beyond, which is fantastic. So a great institution, a revered institution, and it's a privilege for me to be with you. So thank you very much for inviting me. The COVID-19 crisis has exposed the vulnerabilities in our society, in our economy, and it's perhaps the first time in my career, and I hope this is the last time, that health has been the primary reason for an economic slowdown, lockdown, and a complete, complete shutdown, so to speak. And leaders today, therefore, must be flexible, have to be resilient, agile, while remaining compassionate as we counter volatility, uncertainty, complexity, as what they call ambiguity, which is called VUCA, but now with steroids in them, faster than ever before. My presentation will be in two parts. Part one will cover the contours of the automotive industry from where I come, and the outlook, the disruptive technology shifts on the anvil. Many of you, many of your senior colleagues, people who've passed out would be doing startups. Some of your sponsors, I overheard Nandini saying, also are coming from that industry. The future of manufacturing and the growing importance of environment, social, and governance. And part two will take some aspects of leadership, a couple of stories which maybe some of you are aware of, and the attributes required to survive and grow in this VUCA world. So we go to the automotive industry. It's been a shining star in India's economic growth. If you look at the numbers, 20% contribution to industrial GDP, 6.4% to overall GDP, 35% to manufacturing GDP, a lot of significant direct and indirect employment. At the end of the day, we have to provide jobs to our people, to our youth, to our very bright and upcoming students as yourselves. 8% of overall exports and 15% of overall GST. Globally, the top automobile manufacturing countries are also the countries with the highest GDP rankings, and you can see it from the table. This underlines the significance of the automotive industry to the economies of all major countries the world over. And in this context, while the Indian automotive industry has achieved significant global recognition, the vision for India of becoming a $5 trillion economy entails the sector to scale even newer heights. One, through the increasing contribution to the overall GDP, the target is to go from 6.4% to 12% in this period, and to become the third largest automobile manufacturer in the world. Our current position is fifth, as you can see from the table. Powertrains, for those who are interested in cars, in buses, automobiles, and those who are studying and have studied it, are predominantly driven by internal combustion engines. You're aware of that. Gasoline, diesel, all of you have two-wheelers, four-wheelers. And over the next decades, we will witness alternative powertrains, battery electric, fuel cell electric, and you must be reading about it and learning about it. And we are already seeing a push for compressed natural gas, liquefied natural gas, CNG and LNG, as alternative fuel options. And countries around the world are referring to the hydrogen economy, the usage of hydrogen as a low carbon energy source, replacing gasoline altogether. However, we believe that IC engines will continue to stay relevant and coexist with the alternative powertrains, serving several non-emissionized markets and non-auto applications around the world. For example, most of Africa, even Australia, a lot of Southeast Asia is non-emissionized. So an opportunity for India to export from here. Notwithstanding the massive shift towards alternative powertrains, there are several new technologies that are redefining the landscape of the automotive industry. CASE, C-A-S-E, which is connected, autonomous, shared, and electric, will drive large-scale disruptions through telematics, advanced drive assist systems, remote diagnostics, prognostics, amongst others. It's all exciting times. An alternative material technology. We've seen a steep increase in commodity prices. Fuel is now up to $90. There's a compelling need to lightweight automobiles. And lightweighting will help improve the payload, which is how much load we can carry, increase power to weight ratio, as well as improve performance and efficiencies. So what is the future of manufacturing? And that's exciting. It's not been as exciting in the last 30 years, but in the next 30, there will be a lot of excitement for young people, basically because of a tremendous amount of technology, which all of you are very good at picking up. So let's look at some of the trends. Internet of Things entails the interconnection of unique devices within an existing internet structure. Enterprise resource planning systems, they are a mainstay now amongst manufacturing companies due to the ability to streamline processes through automation and to provide accurate, real-time information. Manufacturers are now layering applications atop the ERP to enable data-driven decisions and reducing costs while improving productivity. Artificial intelligence refers to our computer systems' ability to recognize trends and infer logical conclusions. Machine learning, a type of AI that uses historical data to predict output values. Predictive analytics allows manufacturers to predict equipment performance using several matrices. Automated data collection has improved predictive maintenance. Digital twins can be a cornerstone of a company's digital strategy. They improve agility in both sensing and responding to disruptions. Shoring and sourcing. Very important, nearshoring and reshoring are critical to high variant, low volume manufacturing, which means, can we bring in more and more manufacturing into India so that they are close to the mother plant? Local sourcing helps businesses bring their operations closer to the market, but very importantly, brings in technology and brings in employment to our people. Big data, the ability to collect data from a multiplicity of sources combined with powerful cloud computing capabilities, making it possible for manufacturers to get a comprehensive business understanding, an absolute essential to reevaluate forecasting and planning models. I think my colleague seems to have logged out. Can I just take a minute? I do apologize. Let's see if Vijay can come back on screen. Just a minute, otherwise.
No worries, sir.
Yeah, otherwise I can continue. It's not a problem.
So sir, apologies, sir. I've rejoined. I just had a power outage here. Sorry.
Okay, no problem. We'll wait till your slide comes back. And to the students and faculty, apologies. These are some of the challenges of working from anywhere. Okay, we are back on screen. So thank you for your patience. And we talk, and of course, the young people, Vijay, the next slide, the young people are more and more concerned, and rightly so, about the degradation of our planet's health. The health of the ecosystem on which we and other species depend is deteriorating more rapidly than ever. And the very foundation of economics, livelihoods, food security, health and quality of life worldwide has eroded. And we need to act. We need to act fast, and we need to act now. We need to act to ensuring that unequal societies is going to take a toll on individuals, on the society, and the economy. less stable economies, higher crime rates, mental stress, lower levels of happiness. So we need a resilient growth model. Companies that succeed and corporates have a huge role to play. Companies that succeed have a culture of sustainability or must acquire a culture of sustainability to be successful. And good environment, social, governance actions are key to business success. And a company's sustainable actions will build resilience and enable growth. The Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations, and many of you would be familiar with them, are also known as global goals. They were adopted by the United Nations in 2015 to end poverty, protect the planet, and ensure peace and prosperity for all the inhabitants of the planet by 2030. The 7 SDGs are integrated. They recognize that action in one area will affect outcomes in other areas, and that development must balance social, economic, and environmental sustainability. The SDGs are designed to focus towards ending poverty, hunger, AIDS, discrimination against the minorities, women, girls, the creativity, know-how, knowledge, and financial resources from all of society is necessary to achieve the SDGs in every context. And corporates the world over are taking cognizance of it and actually have no option but to take cognizance if they're going to succeed. Companies that succeed have a culture of sustainability, that's what we said, and therefore a circular economy, and even the finance minister in a budget speech the other day mentioned the circular economy, will help tackle concerns around climate change, loss of biodiversity, water and pollution through the reuse, sharing, repair, refurbishment, recycling, by keeping products in use longer, unlike the traditional approach, not traditional in India, but traditional in the Western world of take, make, and dispose. We try and use all our products as long as we can, which is a very good culture and must be sustained. Environment, social, and governance, ESG, are a set of standards for a company's operations that socially conscious investors use to screen potential investments. And environmental criteria consider how a company performs as a steward of nature. Social criteria examines how it manages relationships with employees, with suppliers, with customers, and the society around. And governance deals with the company's leadership, audits, internal controls, and shareholder rights. Let's move now to leadership. You know, everybody is a leader. It doesn't have to be somebody up the hierarchy or somebody elected to be a leader. Everybody is a leader. And leadership is a process of social influence, which maximizes the efforts of those around that person. And key elements are social influence, not authority or power. Leadership requires beyond direct reports. It is irrespective of personality attributes. There are many styles, many paths to effective leadership, not one. And a goal is essential. Influence with no intended outcome is not good enough. So we must have a goal. And great leaders are good simplifiers, people who can offer solutions that everybody can understand. The last person on the shop floor, the last person in a village, the most deprived or the most, let's say, differently abled should be able to understand the consequences of his or her actions. Now, leadership in this world, in the VUCA world, and we go to, and this is a story that all of you would be familiar with. It's an interesting story of how leaders can learn from ants to survive in a volatile world. An American myrmecologist, somebody who studies ants, Deborah Gordon, conducted 2 experiments to ascertain ants' behavior to different external conditions. The first experiment was ants responding to uncertainty. Deborah planted predatory lizards near the colony. And the following day, when the patrolling ants discovered the lizard as a threat outside, the entire colony kept hiding inside. Since ants can't speak, they can't see properly, what can explain their intelligent behavior? So when the patrollers left, the foragers waited at the colony's entrance for their return. And ants interact locally to build an overall intelligent colony. The second experiment was ants' response to the changing food availability. When food supply increased, there were suddenly more foragers. The reserve ants came out in different groups and exhibited imminent task fidelity. When one is in a passive environment, perfection and efficiency are the right strategies. However, in a rapidly changing condition, good enough over perfection and adaptability over efficient are important. Perfection is a journey, and we mustn't wait for that. We can continue, we can start and make adjustments and keep moving forward in the journey towards perfection. So what were the 4 key takeaways for business leaders from here? One is rapid experimentation leads to discoveries that drive problem solving. Number 2, distributed problem solving approach based on local experience over centralized control. It's so important that people on the ground be allowed to take decisions rather than somebody sitting at the center or at the corporate office. Third, multiple interactions drive free flow of information. It's so important that we interact with each other, that learning be democratized, and the internet has led to that as well. And fourth, buffer provides flexibility to respond to changing environment. It is so important to have a buffer to save for a rainy day or for completely unexpected interventions that took place. And COVID, of course, was an extreme example. Another example of leadership, again, this is from Chile, the story of the heroic rescue of 33 Chilean miners who were trapped for 69 days, 2,000 feet below the ground level. And their leader, Luis Urzua, had a reputation for protecting and caring for his team. It's so important that the leader care and protect his team. This very reputation was pivotal to convince the 32 hungry miners to ration 2 days worth of supplies to last 17 days. The miners ate 1 teaspoon of tuna and half a glass of milk each every 48 hours. And by the end, the miners were so bonded that they asked rescuers if they could all remain on the site until the last person was brought to the surface. And not surprisingly, Urzua, their leader, was that last man. When it was time to speak to the people at the surface after being rescued, Urzua stepped aside, and 3 learnings come from this story. Important to live the moment and focus on the job at hand. Second, teamwork over individual brilliance. And I say this very, very often over the last 20 years, that I'd prefer teamwork over individual brilliance in most cases. Trust and bonding helps teams accomplish the improbable. Your own motto, nothing beyond. It's tremendous. And third, exemplary leaders credit the success to the team and place their team's interest ahead of others. It is always important for a leader to walk behind the team in times of success, but in times of challenges or failure, the leader must stand up and accept that challenge. I'd like to mention some thought-provoking statistics on leadership, and these are unfortunate, and therefore I'm mentioning it because very often we come into a world which is not perfect. 71% of people in one organization did not trust their leader. 95% of the people believe that they are self-aware, but actually it's much less. It's about 15%. And only 11% strongly agree that their managers show consistency between words and actions. This can be typical of many, many organizations. So it's important that leadership attributes that we believe in, and I certainly do, to take organizations forward. 1, obsess with the customer while respecting competition. Too often we get worried about competition, nothing wrong with that, but our bread and butter is paid by the customer. And the customer in the widest definition of the word. What does that mean? Customer engagement through the lifetime of a customer. A customer is not somebody who we sell a product to and then we disappear. We are talking of 40 years, 50 years, the lifetime of a customer. An organization must remain attached. We must design frugally, and frugal does not mean cheap. It's a huge advantage that India has. We can design frugally because we are innovative, because the resources we have are much less than in other parts of the world. Thinking to doing to being digital, with the customer at the heart of it. So we must think digital, we must do digital, but we almost have to become digital. But for whom? For the customer, whoever it is. If it's the government, then for the citizen. If it is for a educational institution, then for the students, for the faculty, for the professors. And the fourth, we must move to a data-driven organization to create meaningful solutions. The second attribute is to fold the future in. And actually, young people are teaching people certainly like me a lot, because you're looking at the future and then you're folding it forward. What does that mean? If we extrapolate today, the current or the past, it'll only give us organic growth. Organizations today are looking for disruptive growth. Disruptive because startups are disrupting, others are disrupting. So we have to look at disruptive growth. And therefore, important to fold the future, as one of the gurus, management gurus had said several years ago, and therefore redraw current activities. And the third is to fail fast. We must, as leaders, permit younger people, less experience, to experiment, to fail, but to fail fast and then succeed even faster. One thing that we must all realize, and often leaders don't, that most decisions are reversible. So we must give opportunity to others to experiment, fail, and then we must course correct. That's fine. Third, drive efficiency into processes continually. We must become productive as a nation, as an institution, as any institution. Productivity is imperative to sustain wealth creation. And remember, in our country, we have to share the wealth with people who are less disadvantaged, people who haven't had an opportunity to study at XIM Calcutta. So it's important we generate wealth and distribute that wealth as equitably as possible. The power of shunya, the power of zero, zero defect, which means 100% quality, zero wastage, a circular economy, zero congestion. We would prefer public transportation than large cars. I'm not against it, but at the end of the day, we must reduce congestion. Zero accident, zero debt. Bankers won't like it, but what we are saying is live within our means. And zero imports. Again, nothing wrong in importing, but we must try and create employment as much as possible within our own country. And a culture of quality. A culture of quality is what first time right, no exceptions. Do not take anything which is not first time right, which means no faults forward. We have to ensure we don't make a fault in the workstation that we operate in. And one global quality, always aspire for global quality in whatever we do. Nothing less is exceptional. So in one exception I'd like to make on perfection and good, in quality, we have to be perfect. Teamwork over individual brilliance in most areas, may not be in R&D, but in most areas. Teams create far higher organization impact and positive energy. And you would have seen it when you operate as groups, when you get group assignments, when you operate, when you're playing sports. Teamwork is much better than individual contributors. I'm not belittling individual contributors, but if we contribute together as a team, we synergize. High-performing leaderships, therefore, must critique, co-create, communicate, and celebrate. Leaders must ensure that we celebrate small moments, small achievements, and all of that is part of inspiration. And secondly, have as many diverse people in teams. both genders, ethnic, people from different years come together to make diverse teams because we get different perspectives. And finally, a culture of innovation. That's not been our strongest point, but now we're seeing more and more young people innovating, and therefore we must as organizations reward failure in the context of innovation. I'll finish with that. Very happy to take any questions if there are, but thank you very much for the opportunity, and I wish all of you good luck for the future. Back to you, Michael.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for a very, very illuminating and edifying session. We surely now have the knowledge and understanding of what it would take to grow and thrive in a VUCA world, as you rightly mentioned. I have certainly learned a lot. I'm certain that the students here have gained insights and inspiration to move forward in the right direction. Till anybody in the audience asks any question, I do have a couple of questions on my mind, which I would like to put forward.
Sure.
So one question that has been on my mind, especially during the talk when you mentioned about the automobile industry, and we've seen how over the years, the possibility of electric vehicles having the potential to reshape the transportation sector drastically. What, according to you, would be the biggest challenges for the development of electric vehicles within India and in general to become something that's more mainstream and well adopted by the public?
So it's a great question, Michael, and there is actually no real answer. There's no straight answer, but you can see that the government, industry, and the consciousness of young people towards a more cleaner environment is driving us all forward. So when you look at the challenges that the ecosystem is trying to position, number one, amazingly, that batteries will be 40 to 50% of the cost of a new vehicle now. 40 to 50%, which in the current context was maybe 3 or 4 or 5%. So batteries almost become an overarching fuel as important as gasoline was.
Mm-hmm.
The question then really is, how do you provide a range anxiety? Michael, if you and I have to travel for 30 kilometers, will my battery last out in my two-wheeler or in my four-wheeler? That's called range anxiety. I'm anxious that I shouldn't get stranded. So there are two parts to way batteries are going to be available. One is fast charging, which means if we use our vehicle for personal use, you can always charge it at your place of work or at home when you're either sleeping or you're working. That's a possibility. The second is battery, which can be essentially replaced. So which means you have battery stations instead of a fuel station, you have battery stations, you take your vehicle there. And this applies to buses, this applies to taxis who are on the road for 8, 10, 12 hours in a day. They need to have swappable batteries, what you call, you go, put your battery out, you get a battery in, and you're ready to go. So one of the big challenges are batteries and the ecosystem for charging stations, for which land is required, for which power is required. I'll leave it as that, but it's a great question and we don't have a solution. And over the next 10 years, Michael, I'm sure we will be moving towards that solution as we phase out fossil fuels.
Wonderful. Thank you, sir. That's extremely insightful, I think, especially on the aspect of range anxiety, as you rightly mentioned. I mean, it would really be something very pertinent to solve, and more than simply having access to the vehicles, as you rightly pointed out, the ecosystem of infrastructure is probably something that would be required to overcome such a problem.
You're absolutely right.
So my next question is on the opportunities, since we have an audience of students here, on the opportunities for skills development. And with the world changing so rapidly, there are, of course, a myriad of different skills that these students can possibly pick up. To give perspective, 15 years ago, we would have cricket matches where you would have helicopters flying over the pitch and there would be cameramen on these helicopters taking shots. And now neither do we have the pilot of that helicopter or the cameraman essentially coming into use because we have drones at this stage. Similarly, there are so many skills that would eventually become redundant and there would be new opportunities that would crop up as well. So my question to you is, what skills do you think that students or the youth of this particular age should focus on to stay relevant rather over the next 10 to 15 years?
Michael, there is no easy answer. All I'd say is be sensitive to the fact that we need to be reskilling ourselves every 3 years, because we just do not know what the next level of innovation or technology. Drones still, as you said, 10, 15 years ago, till 3 years ago, Michael, or 4 years ago, we didn't think we'll have to now have a policy for drones.
Right.
So therefore, I think it is the sensitivity that the skill I have today will have to be continually upgraded. And I cannot sit on my laurels and say, I have this skill and it should last me for 10 years. It will not. And therefore, Michael, it is the duty of educational institutions and later to corporations or to social service organizations, etc., to give opportunity to their people to reskill all the time. And if we don't, the organization itself will become redundant. So it will be the need, and it's therefore for every student to say, I must take the opportunity to reskill myself, whatever is relevant. But the one thing I'll say to all the students here, when you talk of 15 years ago, I'm much more ancient than that. So I'm talking of, let's say, 25 to 30 years ago. We didn't have options. So we were told the usual thing, become an engineer, become a lawyer, become a doctor, which was the normal middle class thing for parents to say, this is what you become. Now the opportunities are many, many more. So the only thing I'll say is follow your passion. That opportunity is there because you can make a career out of following your passion. We didn't have it. Let's say I'm from IIT Delhi, very fortunate to get in. I was passionate towards engineering, have remained so. But we found that intelligent students after the third year and fourth year found that their passion lay in liberal arts. Nothing wrong with that. And they completely lost interest in engineering. But at that time, there was no option. They had to follow a certain regimented path. So follow your passion, but continue to evolve at every stage. Please continue to evolve.
Thank you, sir. That is extremely scintillating. I think something that students should spend time on, probably from their hectic schedule, and just take out a little bit of time, is to sit and think about what that passion is, because following your passion does definitely lead you along a path of success, and spending a little bit of time in actually identifying that passion, being able to understand what it is that you like is something that definitely a student should spend their time on. On the note of that, a lot of students I've seen have started trying out side hustles along with their education, or they're pursuing various professional examinations. And it could be the trend of the work from home aspect as well. But at this stage, it has become slightly more difficult to maintain a work-life balance. So managers, students, individuals from all walks of life are dealing with aspects of burnout during these current times. What advice would you have for individuals who may be going through situations of a burnout, or situations where they're unable to cope up, or just feel a bit overwhelmed with the responsibilities that are around them?
Michael, it's extremely important. So one of the things we must all remember, that we are not alone. we aren't the only one who is being stressed mentally, emotionally, physically. There are thousands of us who've gone through that. So you're not alone. Point number 2, please consult with your people you trust, whether it's your friends, people who are older to you in the family or professionals. Please use sounding boards, which people will be able to identify with your situation, to be able to give you the fact that all of this is temporary. It's very hard, but it is temporary. And we will all be able to move out and come out of it strongly. The third is that we are part of a family. And in our family, if one of us is seen to be under stress, normally in the Indian context, the rest of the family goes around. But remember that we must all contribute to the positivity within the family, within, let's say, your dormitory or within your classroom. We must all, so pull yourself out, because this is a tough time. We are not alone. We must consult. We must use our professors, use sounding boards, and this time will pass. But remember, it will strengthen us. It will strengthen us emotionally, physically, and otherwise for the future. Because as students, we've got 40 years of, let's say, an active career ahead of us. And this is not the first downturn or the last downturn or the last challenging period. And we have to equip ourselves. And if we equip ourselves, then we can guide the generation which you will create for the future when they encounter such challenges. But you aren't alone, and you will not be alone.
I think it's the constant reminder to oneself to remember that there are people around you, there is a support system, and reaching out to that support system, being a support to others as well, is something that needs to become a part of life. And in terms of being able to overstand overwhelming aspects, I think leaders also face this issue a lot. And leaders have become particularly sensitive to the difficulties faced by individuals around them. Even more so, how do you feel a leader can maintain compassion and empathy along with trying to drive productivity during these times? Does showing too much compassion during these times cloud one's judgment, or do you think that it's very important to show compassion so that you can get productivity to a high extent?
Yeah, Michael, they're not conflicting. They're not, when you said too much compassion, what is too much compassion? Compassion is as much as your colleague needs it. At the end of the day, what we've seen, again, I talk of the Indian context of leadership. Our organizations are not transactional. Our relationship my relationship with you, Michael, or with Nandini, or with your students is not going to be transactional. It will be a lot emotional as well, because we come from a family culture, all of us. It isn't that we come and work or study from 9 to 5 and go away after that and then just forget about, disconnect. We don't. We carry our relationships along with us wherever we go. And I've seen that if you appeal to your colleagues' emotions, the chances are productivity, especially in the most difficult times, will go up, because we are emotionally bound to the context, the organization, the institution that we work in. It is not a 9 to 5 transactional relationship. So there is nothing like too much compassion. It is what is required to be done at that point in time. And remember, a human being will always respond very positively when he or she knows that the leader is going to stand up for him or her, not in times of whether something's gone wrong within the context, but when you're really in trouble as a person or as a family. So please invest in that. Please at all times invest in that. It is extremely important.
Thank you, sir. I think that's a wonderful message, to take back from the session in terms of realizing that all individuals are at the end of the day humans, and to have compassion, to give them the support that's required can only win over not just their loyalty, but also their understanding that if we stand for them, then individuals will also stand for us.
Sure.
So I have one last question. I mean, you do so much, even after achieving so much. You meet so many people, you interact with so many individuals. How do you and your team stay motivated?
A lot of it is because of interaction. If you think that I go away, well, to some extent, work from home is a challenge. But just suppose I had the opportunity to meet with all of you, with let's say all the students in your, let's say in your auditorium or something like that. That's very inspiring. Meeting young people is probably the most inspiring thing that one can do. So how do we remain motivated? We remain motivated through actually serving the customer. It's nice to see, let's say I come from a company which makes trucks and buses. It's nice to see customers happy to go or to see them using them. I mean, the trucks are not like motor cars. They're not as sexy as motor cars, but they still carry a lot of life-saving food and drugs, especially during the lockdown initial period. What was motivating was that there was no way that our service team or our dealer service team could be sitting during lockdown when trucks carrying medicines across the country or carrying food grains across the country had to be serviced. And there was no rule at that point in time because the police was all over not allowing people to go. Now, if you can do that, that gives you motivation, that gives you satisfaction, etc. You're breaking the rules for the right reason. Our people were going and servicing trucks, but under curfew. So you're breaking the rules for all the right reasons. And then you feel so good about it. So anything that you're passionate about can give a lot of satisfaction if somebody else is benefiting from it, truly benefiting from it.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, sir, for your time. A lot to take away, a lot to think about and introspect on, as well as a lot of fodder to keep us going for the future. With that, I would like to hand it back to Nandati, and sir, if you have any closing comments or words to give back to the students.
No, not at all. I think where I've missed out is the live interaction. But all of that will happen with different students because that's where the future lies. The future of our nation, of our city, lies in all of you. So I wish you all very well. Namaskar and Jai Hind. And thank you for the opportunity to XIM, and may you continue to do well at X-Confero. And Michael, thank you very much as well. Nandini, thank you very much. Back to you.
Thank you, Mr. Sondhi and Mr. Horton, for such an enlightening session. As we conclude the session, I'm sure that all the attendees have a lot to take back from your anecdotes and experiences. Engaging with a man with a personality and beliefs like yours is indeed a pleasure. We appreciate you taking our time from your busy schedule and gracing us today with your presence for your valuable lessons. Your philosophy will undoubtedly prove to be beneficial as well as indispensable for our students. X-Confero 2022 Undiminished Passion is a reflection of concerted effort and enthusiasm of each and every member of the Xavier's Management Society. Now, I would like to invite Professor Rajni Gupta to deliver the vote of thanks.
A very good morning to our esteemed speaker, Mr. Sondhi, our moderator, Mr. Horton, members of the advisory committee, all the dignitaries present here, respected professors, faculty members, and my dear students. As we conclude the session, I would like to express my heartfelt gratitude to our esteemed speaker, Mr. Vipin Sondhi, for encouraging our students with his profound words of wisdom, which were immensely inspiring in the true sense of the term. I would also like to take this opportunity to thank our distinguished moderator, Mr. Michael Horton, for ensuring a smooth and rhythmic flow of the session. This event, of course, would not have been possible without the continuous support and guidance of Father Principal and Father Vice Principal. The unwavering support of Dean Sir, Professor Sarkhel, and Professor Patra have been monumental in the success of the event. Lastly, I would like to congratulate all the members of the Xavier's Management Society on providing a unique experience to their participants and attendees. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you to Vijay, my colleague, who's helped out a lot. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir. We are eternally grateful to have heard your insights on leadership. With this, we've reached the end of today's session. All students, please stay back for a short announcement. We would once again like to extend a note of thanks to our sponsors without whom this event would not have been possible. Skydine, a one-of-a-kind rooftop cafe, restaurant, and lounge, offers a lip-smacking ambrosial array of platters in a celestial ambience with DJ, live music concerts, and much more. It provides a mesmerizing experience, transforming your little moments into unforgettable memories with a ravishing overview of the city. Book Skydine today for your special day. To get the best experience and value, come to Skydine, a dining fiesta. Shiva Commercial Corporation is the leading brand of Rampuria Group involved in manufacturing and distribution of various industrial minerals and chemicals. The company has its footprints in industries such as pharma, paper, ceramics, food, cosmetics, etc., to name a few. The company has had the experience of serving up brands across India for the past 4 decades. Rampuria Group has another vertical involved in 3P manufacturing and distribution of medicines and medical equipments, which is fast growing. They have further expansion plans in adding new products to the portfolio and venturing into new business verticals as well. Attendees, we have another insightful session with Sister B.K. Shivani from 12 p.m. onwards. We sincerely hope that you shall join the next session and keep up the high spirit. Attendance forms have been rolled out. All the students are requested to fill the attendance form as it will be open for 15 minutes. Please check the chat box and kindly do the needful.